Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has commended the Senate for its swift confirmation of General Christopher Musa as the new Minister of Defense, describing the appointment as timely and crucial for the country. In a post released on his official X handle today, Tinubu said he forwarded Musa's name to the Senate 2 days ago for screening and confirmation. He described the former Chief of Staff as a fine, gentle man whose leadership will be vital in addressing the country's current security challenges. Recall that the Senate confirmed the appointment of former Chief of Defense Staff as Nigeria's new Minister of Defense yesterday after an intensive screening session. Away from that, the Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved the 2026-2028 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, MTEF, and the Fiscal Strategy Paper fixing a conservative oil price benchmark of $64.85 per barrel and a budget exchange rate of 1,512 naira per dollar for 2026. Briefing State House correspondents after the Council's meeting in Abuja, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, said the framework, drawn with inputs from the MDAs, the private sector, civil society and development partners, will be transmitted to the National Assembly on Monday, December 8, 2025. Bagudu said the MTEF proposed 2 oil production targets split between an ambitious 2.06 million barrels per day and a lower 1.80 mbpd used for budgeting. According to the minister, gross federation revenue is estimated at 50 trillion naira for 2026 to be shared as follows: Federal government 22.60 trillion naira, states 16.30 trillion naira, and local governments 11.85 trillion naira. Consequently, total federal government revenue from all sources is projected at about 34.33 trillion naira, inclusive of 4.98 trillion naira remitted by government-owned enterprises. Meanwhile, the National Economic Council, NEC, has approved the sum of 100 billion naira, subject to final ratification by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for the rehabilitation of training institutions for the police and other security agencies across Nigeria. This followed recommendations by the ad hoc committee earlier constituted to assess the state of police and security agencies and training institutions nationwide at its 154th meeting held virtually and chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima. NEC also approved the sum of 2.6 billion naira for consultancy services for the project. President Tinubu had at the 152nd meeting of the NEC in October proposed the overhaul and revamp of the training institutions for security agencies nationwide. Also, the chairman of the ad hoc committee, Governor Peter Umba of Enugu State, had in his presentation to Council underscored the urgency and significance of the condition of the training facilities, saying most of the training institutions are in very dire condition. And from the Red Chambers, the Senate has completed the screening of 3 ambassadorial nominees forwarded to the upper chamber by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for confirmation. There are Kayode Are, Ogun State, Aminu Dalhatu, Jigawa State, and Ayodele Oke, Oyo State. The nominees who appeared before the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, chaired by Senator Sani Bello, APC Niger North, were screened by the panel. The committee's report is expected to be presented at plenary for consideration and possible confirmation in due course. Speaking during the session, Senator Bello disclosed that Ayodele Oke has addressed and cleared all allegations previously raised against him. And to the Green Chambers now, where a bill for an act to provide for the enactment of child online access protection and other issues of online violence against the Nigerian child has passed 3rd reading in the House of Representatives. The bill, which is sponsored by Olumide Oshoba, APC Ogun State, and Babajimi Benson, APC Lagos, received a majority vote after the adoption of a report on the bill by the Committee on Justice. The report highlighted the urgent need to curb rising cases of of online abuse, exploitation and exposure of children to harmful digital content. The report also provided an enhanced legal framework to ensure a safer digital environment for minors, particularly as technology becomes increasingly integrated into everyday life. It mandates stronger protections, clearer responsibilities for digital service providers, and improved mechanisms for reporting and preventing online harms. And back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino, who has reiterated his administration's commitment to partnering with the Nigerian Navy in providing adequate security to key critical national assets in the state. The governor stated this when he received the new Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibas, who was on a courtesy visit at the Government House, Uyo. He congratulated Ibas for his recent appointment and commended him for his meritorious service to the country. Governor Ino appreciated the naval boss for extending the courtesy of paying homage to his office before embarking on his official assignment, describing the visit as not only a great honor to the state, but a reflection of the good working relationship existing between the Nigerian Navy and the state government under his watch, highlighting the critical maritime challenges in the state and solicited collaboration and intensified effort for the protection of the state's maritime assets, noting that Akwa Ibom has the longest coastline in Nigeria and in West Africa, hence the need for a base or an outpost to help in tackling the challenges. Earlier in his remarks, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibas, had thanked the governor for the warm reception accorded him during the visit. He said that his visit was to pay homage and register his presence before embarking on the official operation tour, which is the purpose of his visit to the state. Prompted by the current security challenges in the country, he said his mission in Akwa Ibom was to gather first-hand information about the operational capability of all units and formations in the state to enable him understand their operational conditions and challenges in order to proffer adequate solution. And now to Africa, where the United Nations has spoken out against what it said was an intensifying crackdown on the opposition and media in Uganda ahead of next month's election. Its rights agency said credible reports indicated that at least 550 people have been arrested and detained since the start of the year. This included members and supporters of presidential candidate Bobi Wine's main opposition National Unity Platform, the NUP party. The spokesperson for the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, OCHA, Ravina Shamshadan, noted that election campaigns have once again been marked by widespread arbitrary arrest, detention and the use of unnecessary disproportionate forces against the opposition, as well as undue restriction of press freedom. The OCHA urged the authorities in Uganda to end the pattern of repression and cease the use of such repressive tactics. On the foreign scene, the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are set to sign a peace deal aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region at a summit hosted by the U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. Ahead of the summit, there has been an escalation in fighting in resource-rich Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo between government forces and rebels believed to be backed by Rwanda. The Democratic Republic of Congo's army accused its rivals of attempting to sabotage the peace process, but the M23 rebels said the army had launched an offensive in breach of a ceasefire. Recall that at the start of the year, the M23 seized large parts of Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in an offensive that saw thousands killed and many more forced from their homes to flee. And still on the foreign scene, the Israeli military today said it would soon strike what it described as Hezbollah military infrastructure in southern Lebanon and warned people in 2 villages to evacuate immediately. The army in an ex-post shared maps identifying buildings in Jabba, Maruna villages and warned residents to leave. The warning comes a day after Israel and Lebanon held their first direct talks in decades under a year-old ceasefire monitoring mechanism. Morgan Ortagus, the U.S. Special Envoy for Lebanon, also attended. Ads by Israeli Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office described the atmosphere at the talks as positive, but also made it clear that it was essential that Hezbollah disarm regardless of any progress in economic cooperation. And still to come in the news. FIFA mandates clubs to release players December 15 for AFCON 2025. Stay tuned for details of this story, and more will be brought to you shortly. Many thanks for staying tuned, and welcome back to Spectrum News within the hour. Continuing from our business news, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Bagudu, has said most Nigerians remain trapped in poverty because their economic returns are limited. This was according to a press statement issued by the ministry following the visit of the World Bank Regional Manager for Social Protection and Labor for West and Central Africa, Robert Chase, to the minister in Abuja. According to the statement, the federal government and the World Bank reaffirmed their commitment to expanding social protection systems and widening economic opportunities for poor and vulnerable citizens. Bagudu expressed appreciation for the bank's continuous support, noting that Nigeria's macroeconomic reforms and social protection programs had benefited from the partnership. And still in business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has maintained its monetary policy rate at 27%, reinforcing a cautious stand amidst persistent and moderating inflation. The November 2025 decision by the Monetary Policy Committee came amid signs of disinflation, foreign reserves, accretion, and relative exchange rate stability. The CBN justified this decision on the basis that headline inflation, although on a downward trend, remains in double digits at 16.05% as of October. The bank noted that core and food inflation have also slowed, reflecting tight monetary conditions and improved food supply. In health, senior health professionals have affirmed that patients who understand and accept their diagnosis, stay calm and follow medical advice are more likely to recover quickly and achieve better treatment outcomes. They stressed that accepting an illness and being fully aware of its progression and treatment options mentally prepares patients, boosts adherence and helps prevent complications. The experts who spoke with newsmen noted that patients have a positive mindset and willingness to follow their treatment plans, often respond better to care, regardless of the severity of their condition. They urge those battling chronic illnesses such as cancer, diabetes, stroke and hypertension to stay optimistic, warning that fear and negative thoughts could worsen outcomes. And now to sports, where the Federation of International Football Association, FIFA, has confirmed clubs can now release their players latest December 15 for the 2025 African Cup of Nations. FIFA's decision will now ease concerns across European clubs, with majority of them set loose their players for the Buy Now competition. Recall that clubs were earlier expected to release invited players 2 weeks before the start of the competition. However, a deliberation between FIFA, CAF and other major stakeholders, an agreement was reached to push the release date back by a week. Morocco will host the competition from December 21, 2025 to January 18, 2026. And still in sports, Chidozie Awaziem says winning the 2025 African Cup of Nations title with Nigeria will make for the disappointment of the country's failure to qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Eric Schell's side lost 4-3 on penalties to the Democratic Republic of Congo in the final of the African playoffs. The West Africans have now failed to qualify for the Global Soccer Fiesta for the second consecutive edition. Awaziem declared that it is important for the team to move up from the World Cup disappointment and focus on the task ahead. The Super Eagles will face the Taifa Stars of Tanzania in the opening fixture in Fez on Tuesday, December 23rd. On our entertainment news, Nigerian-American Afro group, Afro swing artist Ajo Fair has released his new single, Harley, a dark haunting record that sits at the intersection of pain, spirituality, and street reality. Distributed globally, the track quietly places Ajo Fair's most vulnerable work yet on a world-class platform without diluting its rawness. Far from a typical praise-infused Afrobeats track, Harley pulls listeners into emotional aftermath of real-life trauma. And last in the news at this hour, Nollywood actress Stella Damascus has made a promise to keep her late husband, Jaye Aboderin's legacy alive after receiving a posthumous award on his behalf at the Aman Awards. In a social media post, Damascus shared a video of herself and their daughter accepting the award, expressing gratitude for the recognition. And that's all we have for you on the news at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Rita Inung. Enjoy the rest of your day.